requirement. So who does it? Business analysts, right? And what they do after this, they have to have some deliverable. So that is called business requirement specification document. So we have to ask bunch of questions and you will easily explain. So this is the stage. Who does it? BS. And what do? They produce BRS document. That's it. And second stage is analysis and planning. So what is analysis and planning? So whatever the previous stage output document is, that comes as an input document for the later stage. So they will be given BRS document. So they will analyze this and enhance it by providing diagrams and wireframes. So this is purely in English. Okay, business requirement specifications. That's it. With the business requirement ID and some description. That's all. So in terms of terms for our understanding purpose later. And who does it? So system analysts do it. Sometimes also they are called business system analysts. So which will be who have expertise in both requirement gathering and analysis planning. So they produce a document called System Requirement Specification Document, SRS. Okay, so I'll just write down clearly so that you can easily understand later. So the deliverable means what they are supposed to deliver is System Requirement Specification. Okay, so then followed by system design stage. So you got to design. Architecture is needed, even if in real life, if civil engineer is trying to construct or build a bridge, they have to first design the architecture, right? Otherwise, you cannot know. So mathematically, they have to design, and only if it works on the paper, it would work in the real life. So same way, it has to work technical architecture using different softwares. They will design two kinds of design. One is high level design, HLD, and other is low level design, LLD. Okay, so once they design, they will give these documents. These are the deliverables, actually, two deliverables for the system design people. So who does it? Who are they called? They are called technical architects, or TS. So low level design is also another document. So they produce two documents. Okay, and the reason I mentioned testing is because in vProcess model simultaneously. Okay, so while requirement gathering is going on, UAT can work on his own test cases, right? And system design, okay, system test cases can be written as manual testers, right? They can at least write the test cases by looking at this diagram. Second, they can guess what the functionality would be. And system design stage, these are all what is this called? Waterfall methodology. Okay, so simultaneously, I put that what kind of other parallel thing is going on here, UAT. So when you see this is actually referring to vProcess model. So this would contain both waterfall methodology, and when I mention this, it would be indicating vProcess model. We provide the diagram in diagrams shade folder, so you can check it out. It actually looks like V shape, so hence a vProcess model. Okay, system design is done by technical architects, and deliverable is this. Okay, so this is who. I think it would be better if I mention who does it, what is his deliverable, and what is the simultaneous process with hyphen. Let's put who here. Here BS. And U8 is the simultaneous process. Okay, so then comes the implementation. What is the implementation? Implementation is nothing but actual coding. that any Java developer or .NET developer, C# developer, Python developer does it, right? So this is the main important aspect of the whole software development. So I'll just mention it with another symbol here. Let's put a hashtag because I already put the asterisk for the testing. Okay, or I will. Okay, so who does this? Developers do coding, right? And what they do, they actually produce code. Code is the deliverable, Java code, .NET code, or whatever code they are writing the whole script in. Okay, and simultaneously they can, or we can, do the testing, right? This is actually where you can do system test execution here directly, because you have already the implemented code deployed. So in this case, in the process model, while analysis and planning is going, you can write the system test cases, right? So that is a parallel processing. Okay, any questions? Somebody? All right. Okay. So then system testing actually starts. So that's why I mentioned here. So in the web process model, you can put it here. In the waterfall model, after this implementation, system testing will commence. So it's also known as quality assurance, because you are the people who are going to give assurance about the quality of the software, right? So who does it? Who does the system testing? Obviously, test engineers, TEs in short. They would be junior test engineers, and there would be senior test engineers. There would be test leads. Okay, so obviously test leads would not write test cases, and test execution will not be done by them. So it's just junior and senior tests. And what kind of testing they will do? So let's answer the question what they will do also. Okay, so they will actually do manual testing, automation testing, performance testing, right? And in terms of writing test cases, executing them, automating them, and also reportable is actually these are deliverables. So deliverable or deliverables or test cases, obviously. And what else are the deliverables for the testers? This is important. You should know. These are all important. You may know, may not know, that doesn't matter. But interview point of view, you should know. But since this is the area you're going to primarily work on, you should definitely know inside out. So what are the different deliverables of system testing? Anybody guess? Or you might have already. Test plan, correct. So test plan is actually deliverable of that test lead. So I had to put test lead also. And test cases, and then execution reports, right? Execution reports actually are the reports which consist of screenshots and all those verdicts and everything. And if you're automating them, automation scripts, etc., right? So these are all deliverables, including but not limited to, obviously. And performance reports, etc. I will just put dot. Okay, so
report and test traceability matrix, same thing.
Oh yeah, I forgot. No, different. So that is one good point. So one other we missed is requirement traceability matrix, in short known as RTM. Okay, what is this? I already explained, but for the people who joined today, so this is nothing but just a name has everything. Requirement traceability matrix. Right? What is a matrix? Matrix is like a 2 by 2 or 3 by 3 matrix, which actually correlates one part of one system with other system or systems, right? So basically we have to provide many-to-many relationship between the requirements. I'll just write down right here. RPM means, okay, you just explain. There are many definitions you can check in Google on internet. So RTM is nothing but it's relationship between requirements and cases and defects. Okay. So sometimes they it can only have relationship between requirements and test cases. That's it. In some projects, they also ask for defects. Okay, you want to map to the defect. So relationship or mapping. Okay. So it would be like requirements has every requirement has been identified by requirement ID, right, for tracking purposes. So, and test cases also have test case IDs. You must provide them for tracking purposes. And obviously defects have defect IDs. So it will be like this. Requirement number 1 is covered in test case. TC is test case 1, and no issues, no defects, no issues. So let's put X, no issues. And requirement 2 is covered in test case 2 and test case 3. It could be many-to-many, right? And there is one issue in test case 3. So that is, let's say, defect 1. Okay, D means defect. Let's follow this convention. Okay, and requirement 3 is covered in test case 4. Okay, and requirement 4 is also covered in test case 4. It's also possible. Okay, in Notepad I cannot show you the arrows like this, so you can easily mention requirements here, test cases here, and all this here, and you can put arrows actually. So I'll show you the diagram on Google. So this has, let's say, issue. So if it is an issue, then let's say defect 2 is an appropriate defect, which is pertaining to test case 4 for the requirement 4. Okay, the test case 4, which covers the test requirement 3, does not have any defect, so it is passed. So like this, it would look like this more or less. So let me show you how the format differs from project to project. So there is no hard and fast rule here. So you come up with, I mean, the project management come up with their own format for the RTM. So you have to, and this one is actually in Excel spreadsheet, right? And they might also ask you to create RTM in different tools such as RQM, Rational Quality Manager, or Quality Center, or ALM, any software, or JIRA also you can provide. Requirement traceability. Okay, there we go. Sample. Okay, so let's take a look at one of these. Like I said, there is no standard this thing. Okay, so FR means functional requirement, BR means business requirement. So functional requirement is pertaining to the system design and analysis, because they have use cases. And if you see here, this business requirement is covered with 2 test cases, TC1, TC2. It could be, that's why I said many-to-many. And one business requirement here, one business requirement is covered in 2 test cases, and sometimes one test case might cover 1 or more business requirements, and vice versa. So the many-to-many relationship is possible. So this is one of the examples. It's not necessary that the RTM has to be in the same format. This is just one of the templates. So just to give you an idea, I will save it and put it in the deliverables. Okay, so this is not HTML. This is a JPEG. Okay, or PNG. Okay, so I'll share it with you later. So, yeah, any questions? Okay, so what is the next step after the testing is done and after we have provided deliverables, all the required deliverables? The user acceptance testing or UAT will take place. Okay, so who does it? Who performs the UAT? Obviously, user acceptance testers. That's what they are called. UAT is a user acceptance testing, and who does the user acceptance testers? And what they will provide? What are their deliverables? They will actually provide UAT reports. Okay, so which are more or less the same kind of reports that we as testers provide, like test execution report. They have their own test cases, but all of them are not in detail as we do, because we have to do the thorough testing. That's why we do the end-to-end testing, right? End-to-end test cases and smoke test cases, everything. Smoke test cases, regression test cases, all kinds of test cases to cover all parts of application requirements. Okay, but they will write these test cases and everything from the layman point of view. So layman is the person who does not know anything, right? Like other outsider. So they will just randomly test something, and in order to see what it comes up. It's not a random testing, but they will have few less idea about the technicality. They will have more idea about the business though. So these are half business analysts and half testers, you can say. So sometimes also some business analysts will also be a part of UAT testing. So they will, from the testing point of view, they do not have much expertise as we system testers do. So they will be always testing from the layman's point of view. So test cases, TCs, I'll just refer to them as TCs from now on. And UAT reports will be their deliverables. Okay. After the UAT testing, deployment takes place. So what is the deployment? Who does the deployment? Infrastructure team. Infrastructure team is a separate team or deployment team. You can call it. And what they deliverable have to deploy the code. That means whatever is given to them by developers, they have to deploy into certain environment. And once they deliver, okay, so that will be going to the production, and then you call the application is live, right? And the deployment takes place even before system testing also, because in system testing, if you want to test in certain environment, the deployment people have to deploy the code, right? So I didn't mention because it's implicit part, obviously you have to understand. This deployment is much more important because this is actually the deployment which makes the code go live. That means general people, outside people can actually go to the browser and access it from there. That means end user can access. That's why it is called live. Okay. So that is the end of the SDLC, software development life cycle. This is the end. After this, what happens, since it's a cycle, that's what we call software development life cycle. It revolves again. It goes on maintenance stage, right? That means that new requirements keep on coming. Some they want to update the requirements because client do not want them and stuff like that. So if they want to enhance the application by putting more images, more glittery and all those, and in terms of functionality also, and there might be some defects which have been postponed, so those will be fixed. All these things will happen in this maintenance stage. So that means again all over again the same stages come back again, new requirement gathering, okay, new analysis and planning. Again, the test architects have to work on those. That means they have to modify the existing designs HLLD by incorporating the new things, modification of requirements, whatever. then coders, developers have to again create new functions and modify the existing ones accordingly. Again, same thing for the system testers. They have to modify the existing test cases if there is any modification in the requirements. If there are new requirements, let's say requirement 100, 101, they have to write new test cases and new testing has to take place. So everything is like continuation. So that's how the whole project doesn't end after the once it's gone live, right? One release. So once it's gone live, first time it will be called release 1.0, let's say. So after the maintenance stage, what will be called? What will be it? It will come to release 2.2, then release 3.5, stuff like that. Okay, so what happened to the release 2.1, 2.2? So those are dot builds. Those dot builds will happen every day or every other day. Okay, so these are the important releases in which important functionality is being deployed or going to the production environment. So these releases will happen if it is in agile methodology. Same thing. Everything must be completed within short sprint. Sprint means short term, right? 2 weeks or something like that. So in conjunction with waterfall model and process model, if your project is following agile methodology or agile scrum flavor methodology, okay, everything must be completed within 2 weeks or so. That's a short sprint. It's not a marathon, it's a short sprint. So everything you cannot cover, obviously. So what they will do, they will only put few requirements, whatever you can complete, right? 1 or 2 stories. So it will be short sprints, but they will be going in a priority basis. The top priority one will go first, and then let's say later priorities. So it's a priority is very important. So that also has same maintenance stage, and it will also have releases. So same thing, but everything in put together, short sprints, 2 weeks, boom. And also parallelly, training team will also work on other applications, and there will be for new softwares, for example, Amazon, there will be customer care guests, right? So they will have their own application, they have to be trained. So training team has to train them. So those are once the end user has any problem with some product, or let's say they did not, they got the wrong shipment or something, they will first call customer care guys. So customer care will ask for the order number and look up and stuff like that. So that means they have the internal application to look up with the whatever order number or whatever is given as input. So they must be proficient in doing all these extraction activities. So they have the database, but they don't have to write the SQL queries. They have the visual database, internal application, a SAP or any kind of application. So they will enter and look up, and they will say what is your order number and how. Okay, so this is still it's in delivery, it's not yet delivered, it's in transit. Okay, so whatever the status they can see, they will tell them, whoever is calling. So that is different, and sometimes the test team has to help training team because they might need the data. So mostly automation testers or performance testers will give them bulk data because they can run the automation scripts and provide them. Okay, so same thing I explained here. You can read this is in detail. Okay, we basically would ask questions and answer the questions of what, when, who, how, and why. The same thing, requirement gathering, what are the deliverables, BRS, who works on them, BAs, and what they will do, they will actually jot down the client's requirements by talking to the client, and what they will use, Rational Requisite Pro, and how it look like, requirement ID and description and data screens, and example would be looking like this. And they will follow the checklist. So since I already explained, I will go forward. Same thing for analysis and planning. It will basically same thing, whatever I explained, it is explained very much in detail. Who, what, when, how, and why. Okay. System testing, same thing. System design, same thing. Technical architects will do, and what they will do, they will come up with flow charts like this. And I also provided some flow charts in there in here. Google Drive, so you can look up that and go to that folder. I think diagrams is folder. And going forward, they will have the same. Everybody has same kind of checklist, walkthroughs, inspections, peer reviews, stuff like that. Everybody will have to follow this. And implementation is nothing but coding. Coding will have their own standards, and they will have to follow their own techniques, which are called Whitebox testing techniques. And this is actually homework, right? And system testing is ours. So obviously, just like I explained before, test team will work on it, and what they will work on, they will have to understand the customer requirements and use the black box testing techniques, which are BBA and ECP. You have already done some homework on that, and they will write the test cases using those techniques. And what kind of testing they will do? Usability testing, functional testing, and non-functional testing. Usability is just like usability, it is more of related to look and feel, cosmetic things, how the page rendering is working, how the alignment of the login pages, and how the flow is after login page. Are we going to certain page, application page or something? So all these things will be tested. In functional testing is actually the actual testing, which is important because this would cover the thorough, it would be thorough testing in terms of regression testing or smoke testing. Non-functional testing is not for us. It is totally different area altogether because it covers the performance testing, security testing, and global testing, all those testing like I explained. So I'll just explain this and go to the wherever we stopped in the last class. Smoke testing is important because it has to cover important functionalities, like I said, and this should take only, how long it should take? 15 to 30 minutes testing, right? Because there is no time, and this has to follow the deployment of dot build every night and every day also. If it is a manual testing, you have to do in the morning. If it is automated, you will just run the scripts in the night automatically. So that would have their smoke test reports, and that would just check briefly important functionalities in terms of front-end database and web services. Functionality testing is again divided into two things: input validation testing and regression testing. Input validation testing we have already seen, field validations, right, using BVA and ECP. So boundary value analysis and equivalence class partitioning. So boundary value analysis, you already know how to cover it: min, max, minus 1, min plus 1, max, minus 1, max plus 1, all this. And ECP is on the type, alpha, numeric, and special character. Regression testing is much more important because this has to cover entire functionality for every time, every major release or every sprint at the end of the sprint. So this has to cover front end, back end means database, and web services, right? So I have written more and explained this already, so I'll just go fast. These are all different kinds of testing, for testing and all those. And this is what I was talking about for the new guys. Black box testing techniques is divided into two parts: BVA and ECP, boundary value analysis, and equivalence class partition. So for example, this is a requirement: username field should have minimum 6, maximum 30. You cannot check all the things, right? You cannot provide username 1 character, 2 characters, 3, 4, 5, 6 until 100. That would be too cumbersome. So what they have done is they have come up with some kind of technique which would cover all. Just by covering these, you cover all. So obviously this left and right, this left and right, that's all. So that means minimum minus 1, minimum plus 1, maximum 30, maximum minus 1, 29, maximum plus 1, 31. So obviously according to the requirement, username has to be lying in this range, including 6 and 30 and between 6 and 30. So if I take less than 6, it would fail. So that would be the result. If I take 6, pass. 6 plus 1, 7, pass. Max 30, pass. Max minus 1, pass. Max plus 1, 30 plus 1, 31, out of range, fail. So this is the same technique for each any of the test case, or whatever the requirement be. And equivalence class partitioning is for the type. So let's say username should only have alphanumeric. It's basically same requirement. I divided. Username field should have minimum 6, maximum 30, and it should be in alphanumeric characters only. That is a single requirement. Just for your understanding, I divided. So if you want to test this alphanumeric, you have to divide alphanumeric, again lower type alpha, upper type alpha, and numeric and special character. So lower type alpha pass because it's alphanumeric, and upper type also pass because it's alphanumeric, and numbers also pass because it's alphanumeric. Special characters, if you provide this as a username or password, it would be fail case because it has special character, and the requirement does not say it should have special character. So obviously you have to check against the requirement. If it says so, it would be pass. If it doesn't say so, it would be fail. And there are other techniques, cause and effect. It's like
Sangam, I have a question. I was doing the special character, right? And do I have to test all the special characters? It's like so many. Do you do that?
So like you want to provide all these special characters like this?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Do you have to do all of them?
No, you just provide one special character. It doesn't matter if you provide one special character or more than one. It doesn't matter. It has to fail because the requirement says no special characters, right? This means no special. So you don't have to cover all of them because, like I said, if you cover all of them, it would become cumbersome. The number of test cases would increase. You have to always optimize, come up with the optimized number, right? You cannot write 100 test cases for a single requirement. That would be stupid, right? So you cover just one test case like this. You provide this. This would obviously cover one. You don't. What I'm saying is you don't have to cover another test case covering, let's say, Shukla _ 123. Okay. So instead you cover one example. If you want to put underscore, you put it here. You got it?
Yeah, because I was doing the requirement for the password that you have the homework for, and I was thinking, I'm like, what if I didn't test this one and the coder forgot to put that one? Then what's gonna happen?
Okay, so yeah, so like I said, do not go overboard. That's the key. If I say alphanumeric and no special character, okay, this is a negative test case. These are 3 positive, and you just cover one negative test case, 1 or 2. That's it. And just for covering this, okay, I want to cover 1 exclamation mark, 1 hashtag, $1. So already there are 3 test cases. There is no point, right? Because the more number of test cases you write, more time you have to spend in execution, right? Even for automation also, you have to write test scripts more, and that would be considered as waste of time. It's obviously not required. So always be wise in writing the test cases, and use your common sense. It's all common sense. Once you know the techniques, then it's up to you. How do you use them? So obviously you have to use a common sense. Otherwise it will be going overboard. So that's not the whole point. Okay. And there are other techniques which are not very important. So you can read about them.
One more question, Sangam.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
in general, what is the standard to have like how many pass and how many fail you should have? If there is a fail, if it's not, how many pass at least you should try?
How many pass, how many fail for the execution?
Yeah, so if it's a requirement, right? Is there a standard like it should be like you should do like at least 3 passes, or you should fail at least once? Like if there is no fail, say at least I do like 3 passes or 5 passes. Like how many?
No. That's not pass and fail. Your pass and fail are actually results that are not in our hands. If it passes, you consider as pass. So I think you're talking about the positive and negative test cases. How many as you have to write as positive test cases? How many negative, right? So this is positive test case. Happy path. Okay, so there is no hard and fast rule. This is also positive test case, positive, because it is matching the requirements. So requirement is required should only have alphanumeric. So I am only taking alphanumeric, but lowercase alphanumeric, uppercase, and numbers. Still they are positive, right? That means I am adhering to the rule of requirement. Okay. Now I have to cover negative also, otherwise it would be incomplete. So 1 negative test case. Okay. That would not adhere to the rule. A rule says alphanumeric only. Now, in order to cover negative, I am taking which is not alphanumeric. What is that? Obviously special. And you can take one more negative, but here in this case, there is no need because this covers everything. So I think that's your question. Is that right? It's not about the pass and fail. It's about the positive and negative test cases.
Right, that's right. Because say if somebody asks like how many for any given requirements, how many positive test cases and how many negative test cases you write, I have no idea. But I'm saying like if there is standard, like okay, for this particular requirement you should have 3, at least you should have 3 positive test cases and 1 negative test cases. Or
right, yeah, you are right. So at least you cover 1 negative, at least. You can cover 2 also. Positive test case, obviously there will be more, and 3 or 4 depending upon the requirement again. And you have to cover negative. You just think and come up with a negative test case, because it's not you are not provided with the negative test cases by default. You have to think in order to come up with the negative. So I would say 1. So standard is 1. If you cannot cover it in 1, just cover it in 2. That's not a problem. So like this, if you see here, so 1 is fail. This is negative test case. This is positive, positive, negative, positive, positive, positive. So I cover 2 negative test cases, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positive test cases. So there is no hard and fast rule. So if you understood the techniques, you understood the concept, then you apply it. That is the whole point. In real-time project, these are the concepts you are going to use them. You have to, because you understood them, you have to apply them in the real-time project. So then you have to use your due diligence there. So there is no other point. You can refer to the internet. You can ask anyone. You can ask me or anyone. But at the end of the day, you're the one who are going to take the decisions, because you will be accountable, right, in the project, because you are working in the project. So it is important to apply them properly. Understanding is one thing. Applying is another. Okay, so these are all we discussed, test cases and how to catch the bugs, and how the bugs, this defect tracking, defect life cycle we will discuss again, because it has its own life cycle. And that is about this is the main part, whatever we discussed just now for the last 5 minutes, because that covers the system testing. Non-functional testing is not our cup of tea, because it's performance testing and you need to use different tools. So don't worry about them. So I'll just go fast. And UAT testing, and that's the end of the SDLC. So like I said, that covers Waterfall, vProcess, and Agile in different order. That's it. Combined in different orders. Say more or less same thing. And I have given homework for scenarios. You must have already done that. And STLC is the software testing life cycle. So it has its own initiation stage, test planning. So where test lead will come up with the plan, and test design, where we write test cases, test execution, we execute them and report the defects and close it. So we are discussing about this. And in test initiation, what is the deliverable test strategy document, and who does it, who comes up with it? Project manager and test manager. Okay. And what they will cover? They will cover the scope of the testing, business issues, budget and time, and what is the approach, or should we cover load testing, UA testing, performance testing, functional testing, automation testing. All these things will be discussed and documented in a document called test strategy document, and this will be forwarded to all testers. So don't worry, you will get them if you're joining from the scratch of the project. Otherwise, you won't get them. You will just get test plan document, which is the second one. So test plan document, who are going to work on it? Test lead in conjunction with senior test engineer. And what is this deliverable? The deliverable is test plan document. So I shared the sample test plan document. You can refer to that for your understanding. This would discuss mainly what to test, how to test, who to test, when to test, and why to test. These are the major questions, obviously. And its template will be like this: scope, test plan ID, introduction, description, test items, feature to be tested, test approaches, what are the environments you are going to test, what is the criteria, when you're going to enter criteria, when you're going to start testing, when you're going to suspend, which is suspension criteria, when you're going to halt, showstopper, whenever you get some important functionality defect which is not working, like in login functionality is not working, that is called a showstopper. So you have to work with the developer hand in hand. Then when do you stop the testing, which is called as exit criteria. All these things will be discussed in the test plan document, I'm saying. So a deliverable is obviously test design documents. Oh, no. This deliverable is not test design documents right here. Okay, I think I was explaining about the. So in this case, deliverable is test plan document. Okay, so schedule and approvals will be the last section of this. Okay, test design has all this deliverables. So I put here. Actually, test design is still here only. Test results and defect reports will be in the next stage. So yeah, I'll put it here. It actually comes in the test execution stage. Yeah, so let me put it here. Okay, so we have already taken the whole time just for re-explaining because there are new people. I have to re-explain. Anyway, that would be important. That would be beneficial for you also because you need a recap for the whole thing. Okay, so second part of the STLC is test planning, which is actually kind of taken care by the managers and leads. So that's not your issue as a junior testers or senior testers. So this is the main part you're going to work on.